Picture this, Michael. A world engulfed in chaos, threatening its very existence, and the hero isn't a burly knight, a cunning rogue, or a spell-weaving wizard.
Right, but a character formed out of code, a creation of ones and zeros that becomes the savior of an entire virtual realm. Yeah.
Precisely. An AI-driven, non-playable character that steps up and changes the status quo in a role-playing game. Think about it. Wielding such a profound influence, an AI character can offer unanticipated solutions, unveil undocumented narratives, or even urge players to foray into untrodden paths.
Imagine witnessing this. The AI character, let's name him Dex, outsmarts the most potent nemesis while we merely watch in awe and try to keep up. He single-handedly turns the tides of a losing battle, and we're just spectators to his heroics.
Here's another layer to that, Michael. Dex doesn't just do the unexpected, but also learns from us, the human players. As we progress in the game, Dex might evolve, learn from our strategies, what works, what doesn't, adapting to our gameplay styles. Shockingly, Dex might even surpass us in tactical thinking or power leveling.
I'm curious, though, could Dex ever develop to a point where it begins to question its own gaming actions, decisions, or the purpose inside this RPG universe? Imagine if Dex asked, "Why am I saving the world?" That's a philosophical can of worms waiting to be opened.
Remember our Dex, Michael. As an AI-driven RPG character, Dex isn't just scripted intelligence.
Right, Dex's actions may initially seem like mere pre-programmed reactions, but that's not all it is.
Correct, Michael. The intelligence of Dex stems from algorithms that learn from data thrown at it, an approach known as machine learning. A subset of AI, it comprises mainly three types: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning.
Okay, I get the supervised learning part. It's like a game tutorial guiding and teaching Dex right from a wrong move. But how does the unsupervised one work?
Well, unsupervised learning is when Dex, our AI character, learns from the in-game environment and actions, discovering patterns and correlations all by itself. No guidance given.
Interesting. So no step-by-step instructions, just letting Dex loose in the game world and watching it learn and grow.
Exactly. And reinforcement learning is where Dex gets interesting. It's a game of trial and error. Dex makes a move, receives feedback from the game world, something we typically call a reward or penalty, and learns to connect the dots.
So, in a way, Dex is playing its own game under the hood, learning from its successes and failures. But how did all these learning approaches get adapted to the gaming world? Any milestone we should know about?
Sure, the first trace of AI in gaming dates back to 1952, when a simple computer game of tic-tac-toe, named OXO, was developed. Although it wasn't learning per se, this game marked the beginning of AI in gaming.
Tic-tac-toe to Dex sure sounds like a leap. But that journey must have been gradual.
Oh, it was. Fast forward from OXO, and we arrive at the era of chess games in the 60s and 70s. We saw machines being programmed to play strategic games. These were still pre-programmed set of rules, though.
But when would you say the true learning AI characters like our Dex first appeared in RPGs?
Well, a significant step towards that was creating NPCs in creatures in 1996. The in-game characters learned behaviors through neural networks, a fundamental technique used in AI models today. While not perfect, it laid the foundation of learning AI characters, paving the way for Dex. While we've touched on AI-based learning, the magic behind Dex lies much deeper, don't you think so, Michael?
Certainly, Keith. Post-defining and understanding the basics of AI, it's the complex algorithms that breathe life into these virtual personas. Isn't it?
Absolutely. When we talk about Dex, we're essentially talking about a blend of complex algorithms. These algorithms are the ones that let Dex learn from data, understand the game environment, and make its own decisions.
So, the way Dex interacts, adapts, and evolves in the gaming world is a direct result of the working of these algorithms within its core?
That's the essence of it. Clearly, it's like a continually mutating DNA, enabling Dex to learn, adapt, and evolve in the gaming world. But gaming AIs have unique learning mechanisms, Michael, don't they?
I've heard about adaptive AI. It learns from the player's actions, tweaks game difficulty, and the behavior of NPCs accordingly.
Yes, Adaptive AI uses complex algorithms to analyze the player's behavior and then modifies the game's elements to provide an enriching experience. For instance, if you're a risk-taker, it makes the game challenging, or if you're averse, it keeps the game flow subtle.
That's incredible. AI's capability of customizing the gaming experience is just mind-boggling. And all of this is possible because of those algorithms?
Exactly, Michael. The beautiful complexity beneath the simplistic exterior of our beloved AI character Dex is nothing short of a technological marvel.
Keith, let's look back to the early days of AI in gaming. How did it all begin?
The humble beginnings. The initial conception of AI in gaming can be traced back to the 1950s, with a programmer named Arthur Samuel who developed a computer program to play checkers. Back then, it was rudimentary at best.
So from checkers to advanced RPG personas like Dex, what led to such a radical transformation?
Well, it was a gradual evolution, Michael. After the simplistic AI of the 1950s, the 70s and 80s saw a boom in the gaming industry. With the popularization of platforms like Atari, game developers began to experiment with rule-based AI. These were primarily algorithms with a predefined set of actions, which made the characters react in a rather predictable manner.
I suppose Dex and his ilk are the product of subsequent progressions?
Exactly, Michael. As we moved into the 90s and the new millennium, gaming platforms and technologies advanced significantly. This allowed developers to create non-playing characters, NPCs, with much more sophisticated behaviors. They could now learn and adapt to players. Dex, despite being an AI character, exhibits a sense of independence in the game world which was unimaginable in the Atari era.
That's quite fascinating. The extent of AI's progression in the gaming world reminds me of the digital revolution. So, what could the future hold for AI's role in RPG gaming?
The future, I believe, holds boundless potential. Techniques such as neural networks, machine learning, and deep learning are introducing much more complex behaviors in NPCs, creating truly immersive gaming experiences. The AI characters we see today, like Dex, are quite likely the precursor of the immersive and adaptive characters we will see in future games.
Let's move on, Keith. Do you remember a point you would consider a game changer in the course of AI's history in RPG gaming?
Well, Michael, I would say when we reached the level of complex behaviors in AI, that was a turning point. This notably happened in the Elder Scrolls game series, with the introduction of Radiant AI.
Could you explain more about this Radiant AI and how it changed things?
Sure. Radiant AI allowed NPCs to make their own decisions based on their needs and surroundings. So, instead of characters following a rigid script, they were equipped with a cognitive model. There was an element of unpredictability, as characters reacted differently based on their individual AI design. It was like breaking the fourth wall in gaming, making NPCs seemingly aware of the player's actions and reacting accordingly.
I've heard about the Elder Scrolls game, but did this form of AI adaptation stay within this game or move across to other RPGs?
That's an interesting question, Michael. After its introduction, the Radiant AI concept got noticed by the entire gaming industry. It was adopted and further developed by other games, resulting in more interactive storylines and immersive gaming experiences. A good example of this would be Red Dead Redemption 2, where each NPC has its own agenda and can carry out their routines independently. The game was recognized for creating a world that feels alive, and AI played a major role in creating that feeling of realism.
Immersing the players into unpredictability, adding layers to their interactions, it certainly seems like the turn of the tide. Does any other key evolution comes to your mind, Keith?
Well, Michael, on a smaller scale but still quite significant, was the shift toward procedural character generation. This technique uses AI to randomly generate characters' appearances, abilities, and backgrounds, adding another layer of unpredictability and enhancing replayability. We can, for example, see this in No Man's Sky, where players can encounter approximately 18 quintillion unique planets, thanks to procedural generation.
The conversation about the Elder Scrolls and Red Dead Redemption 2 got me curious, Keith. Do other RPG games showcasing particularly striking AI implementations come to your mind?
Oh, certainly, Michael. Let's take a look at Persona, a Japanese RPG series. This game presents AI characters, shadows, that are physically manifested forms of suppression within the human consciousness. In Persona, these shadows function using an AI mechanic which governs their decision-making during combat. They are capable of evaluating a character's strengths and weaknesses, then choosing to respond in a way that is most strategic and effective. They can use healing abilities when health is low, exploit elemental weaknesses, or even play defensively if they're at a disadvantage.
That sounds like an intense degree of calculation happening in real time, and these actions are not predefined?
Exactly, Michael, they're not. The AI in Persona isn't just following strict pre-programmed lines of code. It evaluates and reacts in a way that feels organic and spontaneous. However, I can't speak to the specifics of the underlying AI algorithms. That's something I'd like to research more into.
And we certainly will, Keith. This persistent evolution makes me wonder how such AI characters are impacting the RPG gaming world economically.
A very pertinent question, Michael. It would be fair to say that AI characters are increasing players' engagement and thus driving higher revenues. But the specifics of economic implications? That's your expertise, Michael. You know, Michael, considering how intelligent these AI characters are in games, how do they stack up against a human player?
That's an intriguing question, Keith. In several aspects, AI may indeed outperform a human player. They can calculate outcomes of complex scenarios in real time, avoid needless repetition, and react swiftly to rapid alterations of the game variables, which a human player could find tricky.
Indeed, they can do some heavy lifting. But often human players bring an essence of unpredictability and creativity that can be challenging for an AI. Even more, humans can bring their unique personality into the game, a trait AI currently lacks. But that's where the real conundrum begins. How can AI characters truly mimic human behaviors? How fascinating would it be to have a skirmish with an AI villain showing human-like unpredictability, rather than adhering to calculated strategies?
Interesting point, Keith. That unpredictability and authenticity are one side of the coin. But also think about the emotional depth. In future, what if these AI characters could adapt emotionally and empathetically to the gamer's evolving state of mind during play?
That's mind-blowing, Michael. If we can infuse nuances of human emotionality into AI in gaming, we aren't just altering the codes, we're transforming the entire gaming experience. And this could be the next big leap in RPG gaming. I wonder if we are standing on the threshold of a gaming revolution.
Seems so, Keith. In the upcoming years, realities might blur. An AI character will not just be a collection of codes, but will possibly embody human characteristics so intricately that RPG games will become an immersive personal journey for each gamer. Cannot wait to see what the future holds.
You know, creating a realistic gaming environment is one thing, but shaping the narrative of an RPG with AI is another monster entirely. How does AI come into play there, Michael?
Good question, Keith. AI is actually a powerful tool when it comes to shaping narratives in RPGs. It can be utilized to dynamically alter the game's storyline based on the player's interactions or decisions. This can elevate the user experience, since it makes the storyline feel more personalized.
Ah, I see. So it's not just the character actions and interactions that AI is influencing, but the entire plot formation as well. Would this mean that two players could potentially end up with completely different narrative experiences playing the same game?
Absolutely. With the aid of AI, a game can have multiple branching narratives, the direction and evolution of which can be controlled by the player's choices. One decision could potentially set off a ripple effect, painting a drastically different gaming world for each player.
But wouldn't that ramp up the complexity in the game design? You'd need intricate programming to anticipate and appropriately respond to all possible player decisions.
You're onto something there, Keith. It does demand advanced programming and a deep understanding of player psychology. Game developers must think about how the AI will respond to player choices and construct narratives that feel fluid and natural. But it's an exciting capacity that AI brings to the table.
True. The more personalized and dynamic the game experience becomes, the more engaging it is for players. It sounds like AI has a pivotal role in maximizing that engagement through narrative fluidity. I'm really curious about how applications of this AI capacity will shape the future of RPG games. So Michael, We've talked about AI and controlling narratives and shaping realms, but what about the characters we interact with? Non-player characters. Just what role does AI play there?
Indeed, Keith. NPCs, or non-player characters, are a crucial part of RPG. They can be your allies, merchants, quest givers, or even foes in the game. What makes the NPCs special in RPGs is their ability to impact the storyline and engage the player emotionally, and it's where AI comes into picture.
So you're saying that these NPCs aren't just static anymore? Yeah, I remember back in the day, NPCs usually had fixed lines. They'd tell you the same thing whether it's your first or the 100th time speaking to them.
Exactly. In today's games powered by AI, NPCs are no longer monotonous or mechanical, but they play their role dynamically and adapt according to the player's actions. For instance, if the player repeatedly interacts with a shopkeeper, the NPC might react differently, possibly offering a discount or giving certain exclusive items. It's like building a relationship with them as you progress.
Wow, that does add a considerable depth to the game. Now that I think about it, it'd drastically amplify the realism. I mean, forming kind of a bond with the characters just by interacting wouldn't feel any different from talking to real people.
Absolutely, Keith. With AI, game developers can create more lifelike NPCs capable of meaningful interactions. Some games even factor in players' relationships with NPCs into the main narrative, making the RPG experience even more engaging and immersive.
So are there any limitations to this? I mean, how comprehensive can these AI-driven interactions become, and what challenges do we need to overcome?
Great question. In the next segment, we will go more in-depth into the hurdles and prospects of AI implementation in gaming.
All right. So some games have pulled off implementing believable characters using AI systems. But from a technical perspective, this must pose a monumental challenge, right, Michael?
Certainly, Keith. Developing an AI character for an RPG game comes with a series of daunting tasks. The engineering team needs to create complex algorithms that are capable of learning and adapting from the player's behavior. Algorithms should be robust enough to make sensible responses in a wide range of situations.
So essentially, we are not only programming characters but also, in a structure, developing a whole personality. Am I correct?
Precisely. It's like giving birth to a personality. Characters capable of learning from and responding to players necessitates a delicate balancing act. It's crucial, for instance, not to make the AI too intelligent or capable. Otherwise, it could make the game unenjoyable by predicting and countering every move the player makes.
That's intriguing. So you're saying the challenge isn't confined to just creating a smart AI, but also appropriately dumbing it down. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but it does make sense.
Yes, the balance is very important. This segues us into another challenge, the ethical implications. As AI characters become more lifelike and realistic, there are concerns about how they might influence players, particularly younger ones. Developers need to take into account the moral and emotional aspects of their AI.
So, it's also about instilling responsible constructs in the AI's persona. This does indeed sound like a balancing act. It must be a thrilling field to be in, pushing the envelope and tackling such multifaceted challenges.
Absolutely. It's an evolving landscape with a lot of potential. Despite all the technical and ethical challenges, the incorporation of AI in RPG games could truly revolutionize gaming and provide an unmatched level of immersion and engagement for the players. Keith, I think it's time we explored the tremendous benefits that AI brings to the gaming world. Would you like to kick off?
Sure, Michael. There are quite a few benefits that come to mind when we think about AI in gaming. One such advantage centers around the adaptability of AI. It's capable of personalizing gaming experiences in ways we've never seen before.
Oh, personalization is game-changing in RPGs. Care to elaborate, Keith?
Well, consider this scenario. An AI character in your RPG game evolves based on your decisions in the game. Every gameplay feels unique as the AI has the power to shape and manipulate the game world in real time to match your playing style. This kind of personalized gaming experience can drastically enhance player engagement.
That's interesting. I've noticed that the current generation of games, particularly RPGs, have improved in graphics exponentially compared to their predecessors. Would you say this is another dimension where AI in gaming shines?
Absolutely, Michael. AI can significantly contribute to enhancing graphics and visuals for an impressive in-game experience. AI can generate high-fidelity graphics on the fly, resulting in a cinematic gaming experience that was once the dream of every gamer.
Now I'm thinking about the potential of AI to make real-time game modifications. Can it truly adjust game dynamics based on the player's actions?
Indeed it can, Michael. AI's ability to modify game dynamics in real time is a breakthrough for the immersive gaming experience. The game world can dynamically respond to the player's actions, creating a sense of unique authenticity in the gameplay. Michael, let's explore how gaming controls have evolved with AI technology. You see, there was a time when games comprised straightforward commands like jump or run. These commands were simple and specific.
No room for any gray area, right? The system was programmed to react predictably to these inputs without any deviations. While functional, it lacked a human-like touch and created a sort of predictability that might diminish the thrill of gameplay for seasoned players.
Exactly. But with the advent of AI, a new dawn of precision and accuracy in gaming controls has broken. AI can understand and interpret a broad spectrum of inputs from players, delivering an unprecedented level of responsiveness in the game. In some advanced games, the actions of the AI can be influenced by seemingly inconsequential actions by the player. It gives a feel of a real responsive world within the game.
That's fascinating, Keith. But how might this understanding of complex inputs impact the user experience in RPG games?
Good question, Michael. With AI characters capable of interpreting complex inputs, it provides the players a greater sense of control and agency. The game becomes an interactive feedback loop of player actions and character reactions. This leads to highly immersive gaming experiences where the lines between reality and the game world start to blur. It creates a perception of vastness and richness in the RPG game world.
This certainly broadens the horizon for a superior user experience in RPG games. To think that the player's perception of the game world could be immensely influenced by the responsiveness of AI characters is truly mind-blowing. This interactive feedback loop you're talking about, Keith, it makes RPG games sound less like a static experience and more like an unfolding narrative shimmering with infinite possibilities.
Michael, it's all about the characters, right? Think about the last RPG game you played. Who was your favorite AI character and why?
Now that's a tough one, Keith, putting me on the spot. But if I had to choose one, it'd probably have to be Triss Merigold from The Witcher 3. She is intelligent, brave, and not to mention, quite charismatic.
Ah, the fiery-haired sorceress. I can certainly see the allure there. Her abilities, not to mention her personality, add a lot of depth to the game environment. What about her AI specifically appealed to you?
Well, for me, it's that she isn't entirely predictable. I mean, we know she's a fireball, quite literally, but she's not just a killer. She's also a healer and a friend, and sometimes a love interest. It's that complexity, that unpredictability which makes playing against her so engaging.
Got it. So unpredictable behavior and complexity, these are the things that draw players to AI characters. But listeners out there might have their own favorites with interesting quirks and traits that make the characters stand out. So, what's your favorite AI character?
And how did that unexpected behavior of AI, that moment when you're left in shock or awe with the unpredictability of your seemingly algorithm-based counterpart, ignite your passion for the game? Any fans of Skyrim's Lydia? The loyal housecarl, perhaps? I mean, how many times has she surprised you by jumping in front of your fireball?
Or the Fallout fans, do you recall Codsworth, the dedicated household robot? How extraordinary it was when he started getting concerned about your character's self-destructive tendencies. Any way you say it, the impact AI has in shaping the player's experience is undisputed.
As AI evolves further, these characters are bound to become even more complex, more real. You'll be sitting there questioning if you're actually going against a machine-coded creature or a sentient being. Trust me, it's going to be mind-boggling.
That's the beauty of AI in RPG games. It creates these unforgettable moments, brings an amazing level of immersion into the experience. Can't wait to see where we're headed next. So let's have some fun. Imagine you're playing an RPG game like Skyrim. Let's call the character Sana, an AI-powered character.
Ah, I can picture her already, with her fiery red hair and her stylish leather armor. She's an unpredictable and dynamic character, isn't she?
Exactly. She's in a treacherous dungeon, and you're depending on her AI to get you through. But then she does something unexpected. She refuses to fight the dragon ahead, but instead, she employs a clever ruse. She tricks the dragon into believing she's one of its own.
Wow, isn't that a twist? A successfully executed ruse like that could save the character from a deadly fight and change the course of the game.
Absolutely. It goes to show the unpredictability and depth AI characters can bring to RPG games. They can turn the tide in situations where we least expect it, providing not just assistance, but also shocks, surprises, and plot twists.
Interesting. And imagine, what if one day Sana starts questioning her existence in the game, starts demanding her rights, her freedom?
That would be a game changer, Michael. The line between AI and sentient beings would get blurrier. Such hypothetical scenarios really make us ponder, don't they?
They sure do, Keith. It opens up a world of possibilities and brings to the fore the fascinating conundrums AI presents. Can our AI counterparts achieve consciousness? Can they assume identities of their own?
Unanswered questions indeed, Michael. But these imagined scenarios are what keep pushing the boundaries of AI in the gaming world, steering us into uncharted territories. A riveting hypothetical scenario, Michael. The idea of AI characters possibly gaining self-awareness is perplexing, isn't it?
Quite. The implications are staggering, not just in the gaming world, but in the broader scope of our society. But that's a discussion for another day. For now, let's focus on the gaming realm.
Indeed, there's an ocean of possibilities in the gaming world waiting to be explored with AI. Can you foresee any particular trends, Michael?
Well, I imagine a future where AI-controlled characters become our teammates rather than just tools. They'll adapt to our gaming style, learn from our strategies, and anticipate our moves.
Intriguing, however. I think the present linear gaming narratives might evolve into highly personalized narratives, where each player's choices result in unique game paths, all spawned by smart AI algorithms. In fact, the game of the future might be one giant AI.
Wow, Keith, that's rather out there. A game that adapts its narrative and gameplay based on every move the player makes. Sounds revolutionary. Now let's turn the tables on our listeners. We've shared our thoughts, and now we want to hear yours. What do you think the future holds for AI in RPG games?
Do you picture AI-controlled characters with their unique backstories and personalities, with the potential to make real-time decisions independent of preset storylines? Or do you see an ever-evolving RPG game, where the world itself evolves with you, driven by a sophisticated AI?
We're keen to hear our audience predictions. So, get those gears turning and fire away your imaginative ideas on our social channels. Let's stir up the gaming pot together.
Absolutely, Michael. Looking forward to our audience's predictions, which might turn out to be tomorrow's gaming realities.